Thank you very much for making a date on the marketplace. Let's start with our very first story. And the Bui Power Authority, BPA, says it will not directly benefit from the takeover of the ECG by Filipino firm Meralco, since the company will not be taking over power agreements entered into earlier by the authority, by the ECG. CEO of BPA, Fred Owari, adds they will still depend on ECG for payment of power delivered. ECG currently owes Bui more than $200 million in debt for power delivered.
We'll still be dealing with ECG, more ECG than the concessionaire. The reason is that the PPA, which gives us the mandate to supply, is not being taken over by the concessionaire. They still will be the assets of ECG. So ECG is the institution that would continue to buy bulk electricity from all the generating stations and then pass it on. And so Meralco would be just a collection agent as users, both domestic and industry, as they use. They would now go and collect. I think the thinking is that they would improve on the collection practices of ECG and be able to get a higher percentage of the collectibles and pay ECG for ECG in turn to pay the generating stations. And so as far as the debts are concerned, they are the debts of ECG and not the new entity.
Now, over 1,500 tech startups, innovators and businesses across the world have been meeting on the need to connect local tech businesses to the European market. Dubbed Republika, the conference creates a platform for digital innovators to engage and create partnerships across the continent. The event is the first to be held in Africa after 10 years of existence in Europe. Prince Apia was there and has sent this report.
It was a gathering and a festival on digital transformation and society, the vibrant innovation system, and its role on the African continent, which was dubbed Republika 2018. It strengthens dialogue on digital issues between Germany and Africa using intersections of digitization for development. Held in Accra, it was the first time the event was being organized in Africa after 10 years of its existence in Europe.
So Republika 2018 brought together a lot of businesses in a tech space across the world to understand each other, to network as well. Now, this particular engagement for especially the Ghanaian tech community understand how the international tech community also work, the innovations coming on stream to help enhance their businesses and their innovations.
Republika, it has been one of the major forces driving digital conversation, from digital right to digital health to blockchain and all those sort of things, right? And it being here is creating a platform to continue it on the African continent. So two things, it's allowing the Africans to tell their story of what is happening in terms of digital transformation and digital society here in Africa. This is very important that we have this conversation for knowledge transfer, skills transfer, partnership, businesses, and all sort of things. So
we've been speaking to some of the participants who are very excited about the opportunities that this particular event has created for them.
Afraid if I hear of engineering, I thought something like mathematics and them things. But it's easy if you learn and then learn it well and become impact, yeah.
To have a showcase that you have close to about 1,500 people passing through, both in terms of customers, partners, you have a great exposure. Not just locally, we're looking on broad continent-wise, which is amazing. Because looking at trying to scale up startups, innovation across the continent, promoting business across the continent. So that is very critical. Creating partnerships across the continent. This is something that this offers them. They get to know what is going on, they get to see where there's synergy, then they get to buy into it.
The program was sponsored by German Development Agency GIZ and Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development BMZ. Prince Appiah reporting.
Now, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, Christine Lagarde, has charged the government to ensure its domestic mobilization strategies are not destructive to small businesses. She suggests a more constructive and innovative means are used to cushion businesses rather than a destructive tax mechanism. Christine Lagarde was speaking during a closing panel for the Future of Work in Sub-Saharan Africa conference held in Accra. Ebenezer Sabuti has more.
Creating the most friendly business environment for African startups was the center of discussion at the closing panel of the Future of Work in Sub-Saharan Africa Summit in Accra. It forms part of the two-day working visit of the IMF Managing Director, Christine Lagarde. According to her, the many challenges, including corruption facing small and medium-scale enterprises in Ghana and other countries in Africa, have become a hindrance to business growth and may need further boost and government support. Christine Lagarde, however, stressed the need for sustainable revenue mobilization through innovative means.
It's not about destruction. It's not about being destructive. It's on the contrary, it's about being constructive. Because that revenue which is mobilized is going to be used in order to build education, transfer knowledge, organize health, make sure that the infrastructure projects are actually running properly, and doing all the things that is expected from a good state. So that's what it is. That's what domestic revenue mobilization means. It is nothing else. If you had in mind anything else, such as corruption, that is something that we fight against as far as the IMF is concerned, and I hope as far as my colleague Minister of Finance is concerned, because that is destructive.
The panelists argued for a better way for government to provide services for upcoming businesses through digital platforms. Etel Kofi is a founder of Edel Technology Consulting.
I mean, Kenya has about 320 services, government services, but if government simply puts services online, right? So pay your taxes and all these other things that you need to do.
Get your TIN number.
If a lot more services were offered online, it would almost be a way in which government trains the populace to be comfortable with online use of services, and almost have done some work for the startups coming in.
The managing director of the IMF will be ending her visit on Wednesday after holding bilateral talks with some government officials and a meeting with women entrepreneurs in the country. Eben Sabute's report for Joy Business.
It's all live on the marketplace. Let's turn attention to some international business stories. And a number of institutional investors in ExxonMobil Corporation have said they will file a shareholder resolution which calls on the world's largest oil company to set targets for lowering its greenhouse gas emissions.
State Common Retirement Fund and the Church Commissioners of England comes in the wake of shareholder moves at other major energy firms seeking to make them more responsible to climate change and its impact on the business. The statement released on Sunday by the CCE asked Exxon to disclose for the first time short, medium and long-term targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from both its operations and the use of its products. Head of Responsible Investment for CCE, Edward Mason, in a statement says they want to see ExxonMobil develop a clear strategy for long-term sustainability in line with the international commitment for a safer climate. Exxon did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The international oil company has signed an agreement with Ghana to explore hydrocarbon resources in the country's deep water Cape 3 Point offshore in the western region. Exxon recently reached a joint operating agreement with oil marketing company GOIL as its local partner to commence operations.
Still in international business, Qatar Petroleum is looking to invest at least $20 billion in the United States over the coming few years. Its chief executive told Reuters after the Gulf Arab state unexpectedly quit OPEC this month.
Qatar Petroleum is majority owner of the Golden Pass LNG terminal in Texas, with Exxon and ConocoPhillips holding smaller stakes. Saad Al-Karbi, who holds the energy portfolio of the world's top liquefied natural gas supplier, also says the company aimed to announce foreign partners for new LNG trains needed for an ambitious domestic scale-up by the middle of next year, but was keeping open the possibility of going at it alone. Karbi said he expected to make a final decision on that investment and whether to move ahead with the projects by the end of this year, if not January. Qatar is a relatively small oil producer compared to its massive gas production. Its decision to quit OPEC this month was seen as a swipe at the group's de facto leader Saudi Arabia, which along with the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Egypt has imposed a political and economic boycott on Qatar since June 2017, accusing it of supporting terrorism, which Doha denies.
It's live on the marketplace. Now, the year 2018 is only 13 days to end. How are traders and some businesses assessing the year? Perhaps one of the most critical issues plaguing businesses is the issue of the cedi. Traders fear of dire times in 2019 should the cedi continue to dip against the dollar. Dr. Joseph Obeng is president of the Greater Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA. He tells Joy Business the best way out for businesses will be for government pegging the cedi for payment of import duties to give them the chance to sustain their capital. He's been speaking with Charles Aiti.
As we do know, we're just 14 days away from the end of 2018, and as we have been discussing over the past few days, we just want to assess the situation regarding business associations and businessmen in that regard, not forgetting, our friends and brothers from the spare parts, association. How has business been for them? What are the carrier-aways and what are the expectations in 2019? Let me start off with the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Many thanks, sir, for your time. First of all, has your expectation been met from the angle of traders when it comes to doing business in Ghana in 2018?
Yeah, I think we could have done better had it not been that all is being taken away from us by these foreigners in the retail sector. For us, if those things is not taken care of, we will continue to say yentuadia, not because of the economics of state, but because of this challenge or this menace of influx of foreigners, because they are taking it all. Okay. And so we have to work seriously against it. For the general economic system in the country for 2018, the year under the review, we had a lot of engagement with government with regard to mitigating on the import duties and all that, the cost of doing business and all that. Even though they are doing all they can to reduce the impact of the cost, I think we haven't gotten there yet.
Let me reckon, Mr. Boateng, you are the co-chair of the Spare Parts Association, and of course, anytime we have an election seasons, your association comes up. It's like the temperature to measure whether or not Ghanaians are really happy with what's going on. But with 2018, I mean, seriously, we've had specific waivers for dealers in that regard, but have you really felt the impact so far?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, like you rightly said, we had some exemptions from the government with regards to, import duty on spare parts. As you are aware, 10% import duty on spare parts was abolished during the 2017 budget, and it actually took place in July 2018. From July 2018 up to date, we are not paying the 10% import duty on spare parts, but that impact has not been, felt as a result of the instability of our currency, because even though that exemption given to us was to, give us some sort of relief, so that it could, go a long way, to help us in our business. Okay. But like I told you, because of the unsustainability of our currency, it wasn't actually felt, and those gains, were taken away as a result of the exchange rate, fluctuations of the exchange rate.
All right. So now let's end now, Mr. Rafi, with their projections for 2019. Of course, we've heard the AGI come up in their barometers of their prospects for 2019. But let's start with Guta. What are your expectations for 2019?
Yeah, the coming year holds a lot of prospects. If we go by the budget that was created, it is very quite ambitious, and we want to brace ourselves up for the opportunities that the year unveils for us. Our only problem is how this thing can trickle down on the informal sector, and we will engage government and then also the ministry responsible for procurement to see how we can also enjoy, because if you look at the year under review and the 2018, government was not spending towards infrastructure development. We have to think about how we can factor the local content in all this, and when it comes to the government expenditure itself, how it will also trickle down on the very informal sector, because sometimes the bid security for bigger procurement is very difficult for us. But if it is done in a manner that we also have the capacity to bid, so if procurement can be broken into lots, smaller lots, so that we can all participate, then we will also partake in the national cake.
Interesting prospects there, but what are also your prospects moving on to 2019? We do know that but one thing that affects your business is the state of the city, of which you have already elucidated. But what do you think could be the prospects moving forward?
Well, what we are hoping for, 2019, we are all hoping that 2019 will be a good year in terms of purchases from the public, whether it's the public sector or the private sector. And if we want to look at the 2019 budget, which was presented, I think its focus was on infrastructure development. And when it comes to infrastructure development, which means there are going to be a lot of maybe buildings, roads, and a lot of activities which will be going on in next year. And when it happens like that, then definitely there are going to be a lot of purchases to be made by contractors who will be awarding those contracts to execute. And when it happens like that, definitely we know they all come to the market and then do the purchasing. And definitely if it goes that way, then we are going to enjoy some sort of sales, and then we will all be happy. So we are hoping 2019 will be a good year for the business community in Ghana.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Puatin. Thank you very much as well, Dr. Joseph Obin. So you did hear from both sides there. We shall be putting most of these issues and concerns to the Association of Ghana Industries, as they have also released their Q3 of the Business Barometer Index. We shall be going deeper into that very index, as we also engage the Chamber of Commerce on all of these issues that are pressing as we close in on the year 2018.
Thank you very much, Charles IT, for that incisive interview with traders representatives. Now, let's cross over to the Brunhafo region now. The Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, says it is confident its flagship project, the Market Hub, will continue to help bridge the huge gap between Ghanaian exporters and the international market. To this end, GEPA is stepping up efforts to bring all exporters onto the platform, which will further boost non-traditional export earnings for the country. Ashanti and Brunhafo Regional Manager of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Ejay Yabua, made a statement on behalf of the Chief Executive of GEPA at an awareness creation seminar in Sunyang. JoyNews' Nesta Kafuya Juma has more.
The Market Hub has become an integral part of Ghana Export Promotion Authority's activities, providing relevant export market information to potential and seasoned exporters as well as the general business community. Mr. Ajay Yeboah affirms GEP has resolved to make the Market Hub the best platform for sourcing integrated export and business data in Ghana and beyond.
In 2017, non-traditional export recorded an amount of $2.6 billion, indicating a growth of 2.5% over the previous year, that's 2016. It must, however, be noted that the NTEs contributed 18.4% to the total Ghana's national export of 13.9 billion in 2017. Thus, in 2017, Ghana's total export was 13.9 billion. And out of that, the non-traditional export, which we are talking about, contributed 18.4%. That's 2.6 billion out of the 13.9 billion that Ghana recorded for the Ghana total export, and that is complete.
Sincere apologies for the abrupt end of that particular story. But on that note, we turn the curtains down on the marketplace for today. My name is Emmanuel Apoachi. We are free. Have a good afternoon.